Welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show.
Cup of Joe Wrestling Show
with Joey Harris. A podcast for the wrestling fan on the go. So take your favorite beverage of choice and join Joey as he takes a look at some of the biggest shows on the WWE Network.
Hello, folks, and welcome to the Cup of Joe Wrestling Show. I'm your host, Joey Harris, and we are broadcasting from makeshift studios in the shadow of South Central Virginia. You can follow the show on Twitter at Cup of Joe Pod. You can email the show at cupofjoewrestlingshow@gmail.com. To support the show, you go to paypal.me/cupofjoepod. Folks, back again. Set up the studio a little bit different. Trying to do some different things, make it easier on myself, try to improve the sound quality and the way that I edit and all of that. So that's always a good thing. And I had a good weekend. My wife and I were up and at 'em early on Saturday. We had a full, rich day on Saturday. Went early, went to the farmer's market as soon as they opened up and got some stuff. Stopped by, grabbed some coffee from Starbucks, and then we drove almost 400 miles on Saturday. Went to see one of my wife's friends, dropped some stuff off with her, went and picked up some chicken salad from a place that we like to give to some family for some gifts and stuff. Went to see my parents real briefly, dropped some stuff off with them, went to see my aunt and uncle, went and celebrated my nephew's birthday. He turned 7. And then went out to eat with the family to celebrate Mother's Day. And then my wife and I drove back Saturday night to home. And just a full day, a good day. I had the car just rolling, listening to music, podcasts, audiobooks, just anything to let the miles go by. And then yesterday was a day of recovery. Took a good nap and then cleaned my truck and then cleaned my wife's car, refueled both of them, went through the car wash because the pollen has just been awful the past month. Your car is just covered with pollen and different things falling from trees and cover your vehicle, and you know you're not going to get it fully clean, but you got to at least try to stay ahead of the pollen. So that's partly what I did, and then vacuumed both out, got the trash out, different things like that. But today we look at ECW's Return of the Funker. Return of the Funker was recorded February the 25th, 1995 from the ECW Arena in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. There were 1,150 in attendance. We get our TVMA in most complete form possible intros. The Pit Bulls versus Chad Austin and Joel Hartgood. Joey Styles welcomes us to ECW and introduces the team and calls Hartgood Goodhart right from the start. So if you're going to make fun of a guy who used to promote in that area and in that arena, you got to make sure that you're not calling him by his correct name. You got to switch it and make him Hartgood. Pitbull 1 and Austin start. Pitbull 1 attacks immediately and gets Austin down. Pitbull 1 slams Austin down. He then beats Austin down in the corner. Pitbull 1 with a reverse corner whip. Pitbull 2 in a double vertical suplex. Pitbull 2 throws Austin into the corner. Hartgood tagged in and Pitbull 2 hits a big clothesline. He follows it up with a drop kick. Pitbull 1 in and throws Hartgood to the outside and then beats Hartgood with a crutch. Pitbull 2 in and hit Hartgood with a double clothesline and a slingshot shoulder block. They hit the super bomb to get the pin. Raven and Stevie Richards come out. Styles interviews Raven. He says Richards has let him down. He then goes into a soliloquy about different things. Tommy Dreamer says they can settle their differences now. Raven says it's not time. Dreamer needs to feel his pain. Richards says he lost to Dreamer because he was beat up by a couple of guys in a bar. Insert your own Shawn Michaels joke here, folks. He says those guys are the returning Broad Street Bullies, Johnny Hotbody and Tony Stetson. They say they are here to take out Dreamer for Raven. Dreamer comes out and attacks them and Richards with a stop sign to get to Raven. He starts to choke Raven as the others pull him off. Raven attacks Dreamer as the others try to keep them apart. A group of wrestlers come out to separate the two. Mikey Whipwreck and Hack Myers versus Paul Loria and Jason. Jason and Loria attack Myers and Whipwreck from behind, back and forth. Myers and Whipwreck with a pair of clotheslines from behind. They trade moves. Myers throws Whipwreck on Loria. Myers and Loria come in. Myers with the advantage. Whipwreck slams Loria. Myers in and punishing Loria. Myers with a clothesline to Loria. Whipwreck with a fist drop to Loria. He follows it up with a head scissors and then takes both heels over at once when Jason comes in. Whipwreck with a gut wrench to Loria. Myers tagged in. He takes Loria down. Whipwreck back in and Loria hits him with a spinning heel kick. Jason tagged in. He hits Whipwreck with a back elbow and a knee drop. Double drop kick and Loria tagged back in. He hits a flying clothesline and a backbreaker. Loria with a leg drop to Whipwreck from the second rope. Jason with a top rope clothesline. Another backbreaker. Jason slams Loria on Whipwreck. Loria throws Whipwreck out. Jason hits Whipwreck with a frying pan. Jason crotches Whipwreck on the top rope. Jason tagged in. He hits a backbreaker and a top rope leg drop. Jason drops an elbow. Loria tagged in and hits a splash for a 2 count. Loria with a bow and arrow. Whipwreck gets to the ropes and they spill out. Whipwreck run into the ring post. Jason tagged in and hits a standing drop kick to Whipwreck. He gets a 1 count. Jason with an inverted razor's edge. The video is screwy for this match, but you can still tell what's going on. Jason misses an elbow drop. Jason goes up top, but gets caught with a drop kick from Whipwreck. Jason fights a superplex attempt and dumps Whipwreck off. Myers shoves Jason off. Jason sends Whipwreck to the outside. Whipwreck misses a top rope drop kick. Loria and Myers tagged in. Myers cleans house, all 4 men in. Several 2 counts broken up. Whipwreck and Jason fight out to the floor. A masked man comes into the ring, punches Myers out, and puts Loria on top of him. Loria gets the pin. Too Cold Scorpio versus Hector Guerrero. Guerrero with an arm drag. Scorpio comes back with an arm drag of his own. They circle each other, back and forth. They get each other down on the mat with leg locks. Guerrero with a rolling neck snap and a forearm. He gets a bear hug on. Guerrero with a corner whip, and Scorpio comes back with a head scissors. Guerrero rolls to the outside. Guerrero with a modified abdominal stretch into a backbreaker. Scorpio gets a 2 count. Guerrero with a side headlock. Guerrero ties up Scorpio on the mat and gets a hammerlock. Good mat wrestling going on. They fight to the outside. Scorpio run into a ring post. Guerrero with a snap mare on the outside. Back in. Scorpio with a backdrop for a 2 count. They exchange holds on the mat. Guerrero with a takedown for a series of 2 counts. Scorpio with a super kick for a 2 count. Scorpio with a powerbomb for another 2 count. Guerrero with an uppercut and a belly-to-back suplex for a 2 count. Guerrero with a splash to Scorpio off the ropes. Scorpio with a moonsault that glances Guerrero slightly. He goes for another, but Guerrero moves out of the way. Guerrero gets a 2 count. Scorpio with a choke slam for a 2 count. They roll each other up for 2 counts. Scorpio drops a knee. Scorpio hits the 450 to get the pin. Barbed wire baseball bat match. Axel versus Ian Rotten. Exactly what it sounds like. Ian runs out and grabs the bat from the attendant as he was hanging it in the corner. Axel comes to ringside and grabs a chair. Ian comes out after Axel, who slides into the ring with a chair. An Axel chant goes out. Axel deflecting bat shots with the chair. They go outside and more shots deflected. Axel ducks and Ian hits the ring post with the bat. He drops the bat and Axel picks it up. Axel attacks Ian with the bat. Ian busts it open. Axel drops the bat and grabs the chair and hits Ian. Why would you ever drop the bat? He then drops the chair. Ian picks another chair up and attacks Axel with it. Ian hits Axel with a nightstick and then drops it. Why are they so dumb? Ian hits Axel with the bat. He then chokes Axel with the bat and gets a 2 count. Ian runs Axel into the post and then over the barricade into the crowd. They fight out into the crowd. Ian throws Axel back to ringside. Ian hits Axel with a frying pan. Back in the ring, Ian takes the bat and rakes it across Axel's forehead. He then hits Axel's leg with the bat and he gets stuck in Axel's leg. Now that was a gruesome sight. Ian works the barbed wire over Axel's forehead. Ian puts the bat into the corner to whip Axel into it, but Axel reverses the move and Ian gets whipped in instead. Axel then wraps the wire around Ian and rakes the arm. They are both bloody messes. He chokes Ian with the bat. He then knocks Ian down and gets a 2 count. Axel throws Ian outside and follows. Axel grabs a cookie tray. He hits Ian with it and they brawl out into the bleachers. Axel suplexes Ian onto the bleachers. He then drops an elbow on Ian. Ian then hits Axel with the fan's belt. He lashes Axel with the belt. They fight back to the ring. Axel tearing the clothes off of Ian with the bat. They exchange blows. Ian pile drives Axel to get a 2 count. Ian attacks Axel with the bat and then places the bat on Axel and splashes Axel. Axel does a modified pedigree-like maneuver to Ian on the bat to get the pin. Ian attacks Axel with the bat after the match. ECW World Heavyweight Championship match. Shane Douglas versus Marty Jannetty. Douglas gets on the mic and talks about his past with Jannetty and says he's going to give Jannetty a wrestling lesson. Douglas asks for a handshake. Jannetty shakes it and Douglas goes to kick Jannetty, but Jannetty catches Douglas's leg. Douglas attacks Jannetty with a forearm. Jannetty rolls Douglas up for a 2 count. A clothesline gets another 2 count for Jannetty. They trade shots. Jannetty with an arm drag for a 2 count, and Douglas rolls out to regroup. Back and forth. Jannetty gets a victory roll and a 2 count. Douglas rolls out again and the crowd chants, "We want blood." Douglas with a front face lock. Jannetty reverses into a hammer lock. Douglas reverses. Back and forth. Jannetty with a power slam for a 2 count. Jannetty with a headlock. Douglas with an Irish whip and Jannetty comes back with a takedown. Jannetty with a snapmare and a headlock. Jannetty with a corner whip and mimes a super kick, but Douglas covers up. Douglas with a mule kick. Jannetty rolls to the outside to recover. Douglas beats Jannetty on the apron. He goes to do it a second time, and Jannetty clotheslines Douglas on the top rope. He then clotheslines Douglas to the outside. Jannetty runs Douglas into the apron and then whips Douglas up and over the barricade. Jannetty then with a flying clothesline to Douglas over the barricade. They fight out into the crowd. They fight all over the building. Douglas dumps Jannetty onto the barricade. He hits Jannetty with a crutch. Back in, Douglas drops a knee on the ribs of Jannetty. Douglas with a corner whip and a bear hug. Douglas with a clothesline. Jannetty rolls outside. Douglas follows and whips Jannetty into the barricade again. Back and forth. Jannetty runs Douglas into a chair. Douglas sends Jannetty into the ring post. He then backdrops Jannetty onto 2 chairs. They brawl some more. Douglas grabs a chair and swings it, but Jannetty ducks and Douglas hits the ring post. Jannetty hits a super kick on Douglas. He hits another super kick. He throws Douglas back into the ring. Douglas with a corner whip. They trade blows. Douglas with a charge. Jannetty moves and Douglas hits the post. Jannetty working on the injured shoulder. They fight to the outside. Jannetty throws Douglas into the ring. Back and forth. Jannetty with a roper dropper for a close 2 count. Jannetty with an atomic drop and a super kick. Douglas rolls out of the way of a fist drop, so Jannetty hits a DDT. He gets another 2 count. Jannetty goes for head scissors, but gets caught and slammed down for the pin. That was a great match. The Public Enemy come out and Johnny Grunge is pushing Rocco Rock in a wheelchair. Joey Styles interviews them. Rock says everyone saw him moonsault Sabu through a table. The fans chant, "You were robbed." Grunge says Taz and Sabu are the tag champs, but they are coming after the belts. He says they're going to get even with Dean Malenko and Chris Benoit. Benoit and Malenko come out. Grunge tells them that their time is coming. Benoit and Malenko attack the Public Enemy. They run Rock into the barricade in his wheelchair and attack Grunge in the ring. Taz and Sabu come out and attack Malenko and Benoit. Grunge helps Rock back to the dressing room. ECW Tag Team Championship match. Taz and Sabu with Paul Lee dangerously in 911 versus Chris Benoit and Dean Malenko. They announce that the match has started. Taz and Malenko fight to the outside. Benoit beats Sabu down in the corner. All 4 back in and Taz and Sabu beaten down, but both make comebacks on their opponents for 2 counts. Sabu rushes Malenko, who drops down and pulls the ropes, so Sabu spills out to the floor. Double team to Taz. They clothesline Taz. Sabu back in and Malenko hits him with 2 suplexes for a 2 count. Malenko and Benoit hit Sabu with a reverse bulldog powerbomb. Taz hits Benoit and Malenko with suplexes. Taz going off on Benoit and Malenko with a multitude of suplexes. Malenko clips Taz. Sabu thrown back out. Malenko with a leg lock to Taz. Benoit throws Sabu back out. Taz and Sabu roll to the outside. 911 grabs Taz and takes him to the back. Double team on Sabu. Double whip and a backdrop. Sabu comes back and hits drop kicks and planchas on both heels. He moonsaults onto Benoit. He then dives on both heels on the outside. He sets the chair up and dives on Malenko and Benoit again. A Sabu chant goes out. He sets the table on the turnbuckle. He sets the chair on the table. Sabu goes up top, but Benoit throws him off. Benoit throws Sabu on the table and powerbombs him off as Paul Lee cracks Malenko with his phone. Benoit covers Sabu to get the pin. New ECW Tag Champions. Benoit says ECW finally have true champs and issues a challenge to Public Enemy. Public Enemy comes out and get attacked immediately. Public Enemy fighting back as 911 brings Taz back to ringside. He throws Taz on Public Enemy, Benoit, and Malenko. Sabu then hits a crossbody on them. 911 chokeslams referee Pee Wee Moore again. The wrestlers brawl to the back. Joey Styles interviews the Sandman and Woman. Sandman can't wrestle, but they have a box that they say has a wrestler in it who will take on Cactus Jack. They call out Cactus Jack, who comes out. Jack gets in the ring, and his opponent, DC Drake, gets out of the box. Cactus Jack versus DC Drake. They lock up and push off. Jack with a wrist lock and a headbutt. Drake comes back and bites Jack. They bite each other. Jack beats Drake down. Back and forth. Jack chokes Drake. Jack throws Drake to the outside. He beats on Drake and throws him back in. Drake grabs the Timekeeper's hammer and hits Cactus with it. Jack throws Drake out again. Drake runs Cactus into the barricade. Drake chokes Cactus with a rope. Cactus with an elbow to Drake from the apron to the floor. He hits Drake with a stop sign. He throws Drake back in and hits the double-arm DDT to get the pin. Now this is where it gets interesting, folks, and this is the most interesting thing to ever come out of a box that gets over. You always got to have that caveat. Sandman comes in and hits Jack with the cane. Jack comes back with a bulldog. Woman attacks Jack from behind. Jack attacks Woman. Sandman grabs the cane and attacks Jack. Drake and Sandman double team Jack. Jack comes back. Jack clotheslines Sandman to the outside. Jack and Sandman battle over to the box from before, which is covered with a black sheet. Jack throws Sandman into the box. Jack grabs Sandman in the sheet and throws him into the ring. Jack hits some forearms. He grabs the cane and rips the sheet off, and it's not the Sandman, but Terry Funk dressed like the Sandman. One of my favorite ECW moments. The crowd cheers wildly. They slap each other. They trade blows. Sandman and Funk double team Jack. Jack gets the cane and hits Funk repeatedly. Funk and Sandman get canes and hit Jack. They beat Sandman down. Other wrestlers come in and get taken out. Tommy Dreamer comes in, gets the cane, and hits Sandman. He faces Funk. He won't hit Funk, who slaps Dreamer. Sandman hits Dreamer from behind. Funk gets on the mic and breaks Cactus Jack and the fans. Jack beaten down with a chair. Shane Douglas comes in. Funk gives Douglas the chair. Douglas attacks Sandman and Funk as they sign off from Philadelphia. Final thoughts. This was a good show with a great ending. Recommended. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at @TheJoeyHarris. If you like the show, please leave a review on iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or your preferred podcast app. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for joining me this week. This is Joey saying so long from the heart of Virginia.
The Cup of Joe Wrestling Show is a production of Baby Kangaroo Media.